Get some more reaction now, because on the line is John Whittingdale, the chairman of the Culture, Media and Sport Select Committee. John Whittingdale, thank you very much for coming on. What's your reaction to this deal?
Well, I haven't had a chance yet to study the detail of it. It does look as if the amended Royal Charter goes some way to meet some of the concerns, particularly expressed by the regional and local press, who I think understandably argued that nobody had really ever suggested that they were committing widespread abuse of the existing rules, but they had expressed very serious concerns about the cost to them of the new arbitration system. Now, this change to the Charter may go some way to meet those concerns, and we'll have to wait and see whether or not the regional press decide that it's enough to allow them to sign up to the new Charter. But my concern has always been that Parliament looked as if it was going to put in place a charter which none of the newspaper industry would support. And initially, the reaction we've already had from Chris Blackhurst still leaves that as a possibility.
Well, I was going to say, and if that does happen, I mean, clearly some newspapers have proposed their own rival system of self-regulation. We don't know what others beyond the Independent are saying at this point. But if a lot were to go down that road, where would that leave things?
Well, they are entitled to do that. It was always the case that nobody was going to force them to sign up to the new system. But if they don't, then they do risk quite severe penalties in terms of the costs and potential damages that they might face if they were to lose an action in the courts. Now, presumably that is something they have taken into account, and it will be for them to decide whether or not they would rather take that risk of incurring those costs or sign up to a charter which doesn't meet all of their concerns. And I think we now have an agreed charter in place, and it will be for the newspaper industry to decide. And it may be that some decide they wish to join it, but others may decide to stay outside, and that is their choice.
But the problem, of course, that as far as the press see it, is to change that charter if they were to sign up to it, and then in their estimation it didn't work. To get sufficient political support to change it would be very difficult, they would argue.
It will be very difficult. Of course, they can withdraw from it, but if they do that, then they risk the potential liabilities of those costs and damages, which go with being outside. I would much rather have achieved a charter which met the overall objectives of the Lord Justice Leveson, but also commanded the support of the vast majority of newspapers. It looks unlikely that we're going to get that. I think that's a great shame, but I hope that at least this concession, which appears to have been made this afternoon, will be enough to bring at least some newspapers on board.
You'll have heard Brian Cathcart, or maybe the tail end of the conversation I had with him a moment ago. Clearly he is, he's accepting of it up to a point, disappointed with, as he was saying, the concession. What do you think HoC's contribution has been to this whole debate in recent months?
Well, HoC have had a very powerful influence. They were present at the initial discussion which led to the first parliamentary Royal Charter, and the press weren't, and in a sense that's been part of the problem, that the parliamentary parties and HoC agreed a charter but didn't carry the press with them, and that's really caused all the problems, that the press, having looked at it, almost to a man said, we're not willing to sign up to this. And there's no point, in a way, in Parliament constructing a new system if nobody wants to join it, which is why I've always hoped that we could actually sit round the table and try and agree a charter which everybody would support. I think today's announcement may go some way to meeting the objections of some newspapers, but I don't think it's likely to be sufficient to command the support across the newspaper industry.
We shall see. More reaction to come, rest assured, in this hour on events at Westminster. John Whittingdale, thank you very much indeed for the time being.